I'd like to call to order the Township Council meeting for March 3rd, 2020. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Concord Township is recording the meeting, and I think it's live streaming if everything is working properly. If anyone else is recording, we just ask that they, we see the camera over there, it's out of the way, that's perfectly fine. We're going to jump down to item number 3, recognition, which is Resolution 24 of 2020. I want to hand this over to Mr. Crossan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're proud to have Team Snut Gear here tonight and to receive recognition for their achievements in a Lego competition. We saw they came to us just a few months ago and presented their idea, which was really wonderful about how to expand accessibility and in playground equipment for those with disabilities. And so we have Resolution 24 of 2020. Whereas Team Snut Gear, composed of Garnet Valley Elementary and Middle School students, enter the first LEGO League competition with a design project consisting of ADA park equipment for children of all abilities to use. And whereas Team Snut Gear won the first place research award in the LEGO League's competition and placed in the top 20 in their robotic game at the FMA FLL Championships event on February 1st at the SCH Academy in Philadelphia. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Township Council recognizes Team Snut Gear for their outstanding achievement in robotics programming and applauds them for sharing their project with Township Council on accessibility ideas to consider when planning recreational opportunities for Township residents. Mr. President, I so move this resolution.
Motion, do we have a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I think some of the team members and all are here. If they want to come up, we'll present the resolution, and there'll be picture time. Okay?
This microphone.
Hi, I'm Devashri and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, I'm Manikant and I'm in 6th grade.
Ishan Chawak, I'm in 6th grade at Garnet.
I'm Arjun and I'm in 5th grade, Garnet Valley Elementary School.
I'm Pranav and I'm in 5th grade.
I'm Yash Dantu and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, I'm Viom and I'm in 6th grade at Garnet Valley Middle School.
Hi, my name is Vaibhav and I'm in 5th grade.
I am Malini. I'm the owner along with my husband Mukul Das for Snudgear, and I thank the township for the opportunity. This is a rookie team. This is their first year going to first Lego League, and the project that they were presenting was the swing for the physically challenged and how to automate it. So that's where the robotics part they were able to present it, and they were awarded the first in their research award, and I really appreciate the township for their support.
Congratulations.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the public meeting minutes for February 4th, 2020 regular meeting and the February 25th, 2020 agenda meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
We have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Total expenditures for the month are $557,427.96, which is made up of a February payroll of $151,274.29, current bills totaling $238,369.40, and sewer bills totaling $167,784.27. Do I have a motion to approve those expenditures?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next on the report is the State Police monthly activity reports. I do not see them here this evening. Sewer Department, Mr. Gillespie.
Okay, here we go. This is the monthly activity report for February. Both the main plant and Riviera plant continue to meet discharge requirements within the parameters of the NPDES permits. The operations staff performed 5 lateral inspections as required for resale certification, and work continues on finalizing the bidding documents for the upcoming Penn's Grant 1 and 2 sewer project. We also have a letter from Chadsford Township, I'd like to read into the record. This is addressed to the Honorable Dominic Pileggi regarding Spring Hill Farms. Dear Chairman Pileggi, please accept my gratitude for honoring Concord Township's agreement regarding the EDU fees for the connection of Spring Hill Farms to Concord Township's wastewater treatment plant. As you are aware, discussions of this connection began as far back as 2013. For Spring Hill Farms, a new developer would have made a deposit to reserve capacity and lock in the EDU fee. However, Concord Township rightfully acknowledged that the residents of Spring Hill Farms are individual homeowners and that many may have been ill-prepared to undertake the cost of reserving capacity so early on the process. Concord was gracious enough not to require them to pay a fee to reserve capacity at that time, and that courtesy is greatly appreciated. Although Concord Township has increased its EDU fee, the increase in the fee is not a burden that the Spring Hill Farms residents should bear. I am appreciative that Concord Township recognized that these residents deserve the benefit of the fee in place when they initially struck their deal with the Township. Please extend my thanks to all members of Council. Virtually yours, Frank G. Murphy, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. That's the end of my report. Mr.
Thank you.
President.
Code Enforcement Officer, Mano Cavadillas.
Mr. President, council members, and fellow residents. In February 2020, the department issued 13 building permits, 4 plumbing permits, 6 mechanical permits, 10 electrical permits, 1 standalone fire permit, 34 in total. We've issued 9 residential certificates of resale, no commercial, 1 signed permit. Also issued 15 certificates of occupancy, 2 for new construction. All I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I noticed on the report there are a couple of citations that were issued.
Yes.
711 Concord Road, lighting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, which property was that?
711 is, can be defined as the location where the El Granero is.
Okay. And 816 Baltimore Pike Banners.
816 is, the banners are where the original schoolhouse, the historical building, the historical
Okay.
schoolhouse.
Schoolhouse at
That's
320.
it. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for Mano? Seeing none, Rich Jewelson, Planning Commission.
Mr. President, members of council, members of the community, I'm pleased to provide you with February's activities for the Concord Township Planning Commission. The Carrillo Concord Township is a final minor development located at 886 Namens Road. Ray Klein Pernoni reviewed the plan with the township to provide township to purchase a lot of approximately 1.8 acres, preserve the open space and the headquarters and the headwaters of the Concord Creek. Purchase was approximately $75,000. Gorillas will retain Lot 2, which is 0.561 acres, with existing buildings. no land development involved. This action requires subdivision to require 1.8 acres. Planning Commission voted to recommend approval to the council. Chick-fil-A, preliminary final land development, 20 State Farm Drive, demolish a portion of the site accordingly to construct a 225 square foot building, reconfiguring the drive. Ms. Trivedi announced that the applicant granted an extension until May 20th, 2020. Chick-fil-A will be on the zoning commission hearing board agenda March the 20th. Astoria Chadds Ford LLC, preliminary land development located at 100 West Wilmington West Pike, formerly known as 3547 Watkins Avenue, Health Center. The project manager was myself, to the application and to consolidate and redevelop the property to include demolition of the existing commercial buildings, construction of an 11,675 square foot surgical center, and a 6,900 square foot area for 8 temporary guest suites to accommodate patients and family members accompanying the patient hip surgery for up to 48 hours post-operation. The total square footage of the building would be 18,600. The Planning Commission recommends, if council gives conditional use and the land development approval February 25th, that there would be a language that would for a specific use. The applicant would leave the site, use would change, that would be readdressed. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval, subject to conditional use, resolution of the front yard setback line from the ultimate right-of-way route, acceptance of the reserved parking and reduced parking count. Council conditioned upon the various consultants prior to the agenda scheduled for next month. The agenda meeting will be held on March 9th, 2020, public March 2020, and the caucus meeting March. That concludes.
Thanks, Rich.
Welcome, sir.
Solicitor Tyler, you're pitch hitting for Huey tonight?
I am. Good evening, council. I have two issues to update you on this evening. The first is Concord Ventures. We are still waiting to be assigned a judge and therefore have a scheduling order issued. As soon as we have any updates, we will, of course, give them to you. The second issue or matter is Pulte, the Spring Lake track. We had a hearing in front of Judge Whalen in February. At his, at his suggestion, we are to meet with the retired Judge Burr in the Court of Common Pleas of Delaware County to discuss a possible resolution. That is still being scheduled, that meeting with Judge Burr. Once we have it scheduled, we, of course, let you know. And that is it.
Thank you. Concord Ventures, for everyone, that is the townhome, the PRD development on Route 202, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Somebody normally asks which one's Concord Ventures. That's the one that we had. John, would we have about 2 years of hearings on that? At least? Yes, so it's working its way through the court system. Okay. Township Engineer, Nate.
Good evening. Just a few updates. First, we're continuing to work on preparing the annual summer road program. So we are accepting any and all complaints on our road network. Please send them to Amanda's attention, and we will certainly evaluate any feedback from residents.
And on behalf of council, please send them to Nate and Amanda.
We'll take a look at everything. Second, based on some feedback from residents, we did take a closer look at the what we call the culvert on Temple Road. That would be the culvert that's immediately north of Garnet Valley School District's kind of rear entrance to Temple Road. And what we're going to do is most likely widen that slightly so we can get a little bit safer two-way traffic there. It's a tricky scenario there, but we'll move the guide rail, widen the road. Most likely do that with the road program. If an opportunity arises to do that sooner, we might take it, but more than likely we'll do that as part of the road program this year. Hopefully everybody saw the notices that started going out yesterday. We were going to have an open house here at the township for our Garnet Valley Greenway. Great, thank you. So there's some notices in the back. We distribute this, throughout the community to various stakeholders. all the various state agencies, all the adjacent municipalities. We're going to have an open house forum here that night. It's March 10th. We're scheduled 7:15 to 8:30. We'll stay as long as necessary. I'll bring some coworkers. We'll have some steering committee members here. It'll be, I believe, after one of the council meetings next week, or yeah, it'll be following the council meeting, and we'll bring some boards and explanation of what's going on there, and certainly be here to answer any questions about that project as we wind down that study. Again, it's a feasibility study. We're not building that trail tomorrow. We're just taking a look at the viability of putting a trail along that Pico utility corridor. And then last, just brief updates. Pickleball, dog park, volleyball court. Again, we've had some mild weather, so we think we can wrap those up in the very near future and schedule some openings here probably in the month of April. So hopefully, yeah, so we'll probably update at the April council meeting once we start fine tuning. We still have some utilities, some landscaping coordination. So sometimes it looks ready, but there's still a few things going on behind the scenes with those projects. I think that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Amanda, manager.
Sure, if everyone will just bear with me, I'm a little longer than usual. I'm sure council will love that. But great things. One, I just want to mention, as Nate was talking about stuff, we received a grant through TCDI to do a pedestrian connectivity study. That RFP will be hitting the street by the end of the week, and we'll have information up on the website for any eligible bidders for that project. It's jointly with Chadds Ford, and it really looks at the 202 and Route 1 corridor in terms of pedestrian connectivity in our municipalities. Additionally, we finally, it feels like I talked about this forever, our new website officially launched last night and today. We are still working on it. It is a labor of love. I have a part-time staff member who has done a fantastic job with doing that for us, and I'm just trying to pull it up so that I can show off how cool it looks. I feel so much cooler. We have, if you saw our old website, this is like, I don't even know, I feel like it's a spaceship in the, 40s here, but it's very exciting. We have some great information on here. When you come to the home page, we have some pop-ups that'll alert folks to things like the council public meeting tonight. We have some real cool, drone footage that we had someone come out and do to sort of show some really great areas in the township for folks who maybe are looking to move here or have their business here, and for our own residents just to see some of the beautiful things we have. Additionally, we have some hot buttons of very common things that you might want to come and look up. So for those at home who are looking at Concord meetings live, they just got to click once and they get right there. Our new site's also very mobile friendly, and we meet the ADA standards for our website. We also have trending news because we're cool now and we have trending news. So, for example, Nate just talked about the Garnet Valley Greenways open house. So that's featured there, and these are all clickable, easy to find. Our council meeting and other information. We'll list township events, and we also have other areas of interest for folks, a lot of questions that we get. Additionally, again, like I said, we are still working on this. We are still updating photos and information. And if anybody's on there and you find a bad link, shoot us an email. We are happy to edit, change. We're not too proud to have edits or changes. It's a lot of work. We had a lot to carry over from our previous website. And so we have Township Council, one click, lots of information. Look at this group. Nice picture and all kinds of stuff. So we are still peppering and stuff. We have a lot of future things to come on this. We're looking to do some really cool GIS integration that our township engineer has been working with us on. In particular, one cool area has to do with our historic resource inventory. So we're looking to do a GIS map that residents could click on, and then you could click on the house, see a picture of it, learn about it, and understand what it is and why it's important to preserve. We're looking to do that on other applications, even from eventually, we hope, some large road projects and things like that, to make it a lot easier for people to find out information happening. We also will have, it's called Notify Me. It's getting set up. and we're going to have an area where residents can sign on, and then we'll push out information when you sign up with your website information, with your email information. Additionally, we look to, in the future, have some bill pay opportunities. We may start small in the sewer area and see where it goes. While we all pay things all the time, governments don't like the risk of getting involved. We're always behind the 8 ball on the really cool stuff, but we're looking into a lot. There's a lot going on, and we hope throughout the rest of this year you'll see some really cool applications and things happening to make this super user-friendly and help out with the information and questions we get a lot of. So I hope everybody goes on it. If you check it out and you see anything or anything you're like, hey, maybe edit that, please let us know. We are absolutely open to suggestion. And the next part is the state of the township. I feel a little bit of like POTUS here, but so as sometimes the stars align, this afternoon I received a link to an article in Mainline Today that we are a part of the top 29 best towns in the western suburbs. I absolutely agree. And it listed Glen Mills as part of that. And I thought that was pretty great to my lead-in for the state of the township. I put some copies in the back. Additionally, we will have this available on the website for those of you dying to get through it. This is prepared by me as part of the charter. So I've been asked to read through a couple portions of that. If you'll indulge me for a minute, I'll try to be succinct. I think the important part is to say that we have a lot going on here. I think everyone knows that. There's a lot of things we'll be facing in the future, but I will say that our future is looking bright. Our economy here continues to be strong. Our financial picture is healthy, and our planning efforts over the last decade are coming to fruition. While this new decade ahead is sure to pose many challenges for local governments across this Commonwealth, our focus is to meet these challenges while positioning Concord Township as a regional leader in achieving a quality of life for our residents that is a model to other communities. And I think we have started putting those mechanisms in place and building off of the great things that were previously done. In the tax letter that went out this year, our president, Dominic Pileggi, noted, it was such a great community to live, work, and raise your family. And I think a lot of people in this room would agree, as you've probably raised families here or started business here or have lived here for many years and maybe moved back, which is very Delaware County of you to stay where you grew up. But, one of the things I noted in there was his comment from the tax letter and noted we have thousands of residents in Concord Township that grew up here, started business here, and stayed here to raise their families, and thousands more who have relocated to Concord Township because of our prime regional location, award-winning school district, safe neighborhoods, sound economy, diverse housing stock, access to top-notch retail, family pet-friendly parks, and for our over 300 acres of preserved open space. And I added, moreover, where else in Delaware County can you have all these amenities and still have your township taxes under $1 million, averaging only $327 a year for the average township taxpayer? And the answer is nowhere, really, in our area. I've worked in many of those municipalities, so I do know that. This is for you. The claps are for council. Way to go. Open and honest government. Governments all over, I think since Watergate, have had such a stigma of not being open and honest. And I like to say local government is the chicken soup of government. We don't make sausage here. I can show you every single ingredient, and I can tell you where every single dollar has been spent or not spent and is in fund balance. But what I will say is that building off of what the Government Study Commission members did in 2016 with the creation of the Home Rule Charter, they noted, actually, and I know this was reiterated at another meeting, but that the current, and this was a Board of Supervisors at that time, exercised a level of transparency that exceeded the requirements of both the Second Class Code and Sunshine Act. And I just wanted to add this tradition of transparency was actually exemplified with the adoption of the Home Rule Charter and has been continued by council and staff since its inception. Some of the many efforts, and you've seen them if you've come to meetings, or maybe you've seen it while you're watching at home, but communication of council initiatives to the public through various media outlets. We're using live streaming. We have an annual printed newsletter. We have newsletters that are e-newsletters. Additionally, budget preparations. We have postcards that we're sending out for events now. We have an increased social media presence. We have 2 new LED signs in two different areas of the township We also have a new user-friendly website that we just launched to assist with some of those communication efforts. Additionally, I do an annual State of the Township address. Like it or not, it's part of the charter. But I think that's another great communication mechanism because it's sort of the non-council, non-political kind of moment where I can tell you what's happening here as your business manager. We also do annual budget message, and I do a presentation every year. We have annual audits, and I do a presentation on the audit every year. We have all types of financial updates that we've been doing to help protect our financial resources and create policies and review procedures as part of that. We have a 5-year capital planning document which came out of the Home Rule Charter, which helps to notify the public of major infrastructure initiatives and how we're budgeting for those. We also have hundreds of documents on our website. If you go to other municipalities, you don't always see that. And here we do. We have minutes, we have resolutions, we have ordinances, we have tons of things up there, including our budget that residents have the opportunity to look at 24/7. Additionally, we give monthly reports at every council meeting. Our consultants do. Committee members and staff do that as well. In 2020, I want to add and plug, we're planning more engaging opportunities for the public, including open houses, which you just heard about, Garnet Valley Greenway. We're planning to try to do different things to get the public engaged and get people out here in different ways. We're looking at some possible surveys that'll be going out in the future based off of some of the grants and things that we're working on. We're looking to do, hopefully, in the future, a visioning workshop where we can invite the public in and talk about the great things and what we want to make even better. So I just would like to add to that we encourage all residents to get involved in the process and to reach out to council members or staff with any questions or ideas to assure our tradition of accessible, open, and honest government continues. And what I'll add to that is I know with social media, it's very easy for everybody to get on there and post all kinds of things. But if you want the facts and you want the right answer, please contact our municipal building. That is what we are here for. We post stuff on our website all the time that gets shared and sometimes manipulated. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows if you go to Concord Township's Facebook page and you like us, you will see the stuff that we have going on and what we're pushing out, which is, I want to make an important point of, feel free to call us. We still like human interaction here. Maybe not if the coronavirus happens, but for now, we would like the human interaction if there's any questions or problems. Additionally, I have a section in here for demonstrated fiscal leadership. I know I've talked about it a million times between our budget and all of our other things. We have a great bond rating of AA1, which reflects our healthy tax base. We have low debt, low pension liabilities. We have a robust financial position and notable credit factors, which I think is important to note. Additionally, township staff has been working really hard and trying to make sure we have other measures in place. We look a lot through our auditing process about our processes internally to make sure that our internal controls are handled. We also take a look at our insurance every year to determine whether or not we need to look at the risk and different things that could happen. Unfortunately, things do happen in municipalities, and we try to protect the residents of the township to make sure that we don't have any of those things happen here. And then I'll add to that, the next section I have in here is our exemplary team. I've got some of them in the audience that I'm looking at, and I used a Steve Jobs quote and just said, great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I wholeheartedly believe that. And when you work in local government, you need every single person. And I think we have a really great group here between staff, consultants, committees, and board members who are here, in the evening hours giving a report to the public, which I think is fantastic. And I just personally would like to thank each and every one of them for the time that they dedicate to make Concord Township great for everyone. So thank you so much for all the work and help that you provide me to assist council in fulfilling their goals throughout the year. It's much appreciated. Additionally, in that section, I note some things by the numbers and the amount of things that people do just to give the public a good idea of how that works. Additionally, I talk about opportunities and challenges ahead. For those of you in business, you do SWOT analysis, whether you do them at an extreme level or a quick level. It's something that we also focus on here as well. I mentioned some things about capital planning and the importance of capital planning for our healthy financial picture to make sure we have high-quality infrastructure, which is essential to the economic vitality and quality of life of our community. As part of that capital planning, the next line I have in there has to do with grants. You know, a lot of the way that we fund some of those capital expenditures like trails and all these great amenities that we have like Dream Playground, and they're from grants, and those grants were achieved through consultants and township help between council approvals, and I think they're fantastic because that's such a fantastic way to leverage our monies to get more amenities for the municipality. And with that, we've gotten, over the last 3 years, I think we have $4 million in grants that we've really seen come through here, which is fantastic, and we are definitely a leader in the region in that respect. Sustainability, I know we have a lot of people who come in and ask us lots of questions. What are we doing? The hard part in our worlds a lot of times we're moving through 100 topics at once, and sometimes we're not the best communicators to make sure that the public knows a lot of these things. I try harder at that myself all the time. I swim in this world all day long, and sometimes I forget that not everybody knows some of the things that we know. So in here, I'll read that section because I know we've had a lot of questions about that. Sustainability in government is a complex matter. It is focusing our efforts on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. In the next decade, under Council's leadership, the Township will evaluate its operations, policies, and practices to create a brighter future for the next generation. Currently, the Township is evaluating solar opportunities for our sewer plant, partnering with the Newland Grist Mill to implement better maintenance practices as land stewards, evaluating the possibilities for more green infrastructure on township-owned properties, creating more trails for the public to walk, bike, and run to destinations within the township with the hopes of alleviating some traffic congestion, planning for EV charging stations in public parks and on the municipal campus, engaging our land planner and engineers to design more sustainable landscaping at our parks, municipal campus, and gateway areas along our highways, and considering legislation to address things like plastics and to possibly create a council of consultants to address our future environmental needs. So there's a lot of discussions that happen about sustainability here, and I want to make sure that people get that just because we can't do something in 2 seconds doesn't mean that we're not evaluating that and figuring out what makes sense for us. As everybody knows who sat here during the plastics discussion, you know, it was very apparent how we needed to also refocus our efforts there in terms of the governor's moratorium, but moreover, what is the effect of passing something like that, and what does it do to paper and other things that were kind of brought up by audience members. So I think it's good. We're having some great discussions, and we'll continue to have that in the future. Additionally, open space. Unless you've been under a rock, you as a resident should know that Township Council has a huge focus on open space and has been making lots of commitments with dollars and with residents in town. So I'll read that section. If you have lived in Concord Township for over 30 years or 5 years, you know the importance of focusing our efforts on the protection of open space. However, you also know that the township cannot do this alone. The acquiring of open space needs a willing seller and the funds to purchase the land. Over the next decade, Council has committed millions of dollars to achieve this goal of expanding our current 300-plus preserved acres and working with landowners to consider many options to preserve, protect their land from future development. To say this process takes time is an understatement. To say that the township has the funding in place now to protect everything it can from development would be a lie. To say that council is doing everything in its power to preserve what it can from development is the truth. The balance of protecting open space and the rights of property owners is a constant challenge. The fact is that many of us live in homes built on what was once farmland. Council's commitment to strategize and fund open space opportunities has been a top priority. And in 2019, we saved an additional 25-plus acres that otherwise would have been developed. And with that, I'm wrapping up, guys. I just have in my last part, as we approach this next decade, I want to implore everyone on our team and all our residents to take responsibility in keeping Concord Township as an exemplary community to live, work, and raise our beautiful families. Let's work together in a positive, respectful manner to achieve our shared goals. And I'm a big quotes person, so I took some words from Fred, Mr. Rogers. We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my child, not my community, not my world, not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes. And I just said, let's be our own heroes. Let's everyone work together to do some great things and keep Concord Township as amazing as it is today. Thank you.
And Amanda, oh, really? I was just reading that. I'll just hang. Okay.
Sure. 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 So, okay. So finding a transition from the fabulous, amazing things to coronavirus is going to be kind of tough. But I think the important thing, I actually just sent information out to Township Council and staff, letting them know. I think we're all reading 3 million things in the paper right now, and on the news media. And I know there's some hysteria, rightfully so, as we see more states turn red. I think we need to start communicating. So we have, which I'm not sure if everybody in the room knows or if the public knows, we have an emergency management team. So we have, which I think is fantastic, we have Mr. Fred Field, who has been a resident here for eons. We tease Fred that he can't ever leave us, and if he's going to die in his office chair, we are not letting him go. But he knows everything and everyone in Delaware County and beyond, and he has definitely influenced and taught a lot of the people who do what they do. So I think it's very important. We have great relationships with the county and the school district. And for any measures like this, when you talk about a pandemic situation, so we've basically sat down, talked a lot about the what ifs. I think if you saw in Washington, which recently happened, they closed some schools. That has a lot of ramifications, especially, I'm a parent of 2 young children, and if my kids were home for an entire month, it's kind of difficult. Luckily, we work in a technology world where I can work from home, but not every employee here has that same opportunity. So we're talking about all of those things. We're planning a meeting with the school district. I think there's a couple important things that I sort of had pointed out to Township Council and staff, that things that you should know really now. And I think the one thing that I wanted to point out was the Township School District and County have emergency operation plans that address the protocols in the event of a pandemic situation and other situations, from floods to hurricanes to any type of natural disaster. Our emergency management professionals, county officials, and school officials have jointly performed exercises to prepare for such an event. So several years ago, I had a conversation with Dr. Petrando, actually in email today, and he noted that they actually did a pandemic exercise at Garnet Valley High School. Delaware County takes the lead on these events. For those that aren't sure, it gets very complicated, but we have things called open pods and closed pod. An open pod, for your purposes, is the place you would go to receive a vaccine or medication. That is Garnet Valley High School for our residents. We have closed pods, which have to do more with the nursing homes and things like that, where they would receive those medications separately, and a medical professional there would distribute it to those folks, and it's closed. It's not open to the rest of the public. Additionally, we're planning a meeting with the school district in the next couple weeks, so we can just make sure we know they have had a lot of players change, and so have we. We have new faces, they have new faces. We just want to make sure everybody is communicating, and appropriately so. Additionally, those closed pod areas, we have our emergency management professionals making sure we have all the appropriate contacts that go to the county. The way that works, it's called an SNS program. It's a strategic national stockpile. And basically the way that works is they get all the medication, it goes somewhere in Delaware County, and then they have all the information there to get it distributed out. The county takes the lead. We follow. For Township Council and our purposes, we are basically communication to the residents. So as you all know, I know there's been some controversy with the signage that we have. A lot of municipalities do things like that with the LED signs. In particular, the LED sign out here at Baltimore Pike, right in front of the township building, is hooked into our emergency generator in the event that we lost power and we needed to communicate at some level with folks. We're trying our best, is sort of the answer there with our communication measures, and we're trying different things to reach different people on different ends of the township. Additionally, this isn't the first time, so people can breathe a little bit. It's not the first time that we've dealt with pandemic type things. If anyone was around for the H1N1 or SARS, we have had different moments where things like this have come up, and the county and municipalities have all looked at that. Additionally, I'm going to start pushing out some educational information to residents through our social media sites and on our website where people can go. I'll try to create a little clearinghouse of all of the places in one place to help folks, because you can go to ready.gov, you can go to the CDC. Esri even has a GIS site right now where they're including information on every single person and where they're located in their information. So we have all that information available. I would say in the meantime, don't lose too much sleep. According to the CDC, about 80% of those affected present mild symptoms like the flu or a common cold. Also, they're realizing that for some reason children really haven't been affected, thank God. And I just sort of said to my staff, and I hope everyone takes that to your office, is, let's all remember to keep our business interactions not interactive. So the handshaking might be paused for the time being, and I think it's good practice to make sure the most important thing, everybody's washing their hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water several times a day, in addition to any hand sanitizer. That's all I got.
Well, thanks for that little wrapping it up with that. Wash. Here. Thank you so much. I think everybody here would say that certainly in my time, you are the best township manager we've experienced. And thank you for the open communication and the like. And on the... Really? And on the subject of communication, the dog park. I know, I've taken it upon myself to tell people at the dog park, no worries, they're not going to snatch this from under you. And I know they have enough respect for me, at least, who has come up and repeatedly asked about it. I was told by John Crossan to keep my promises to myself, I certainly can't be promising people because I trust you guys, per se. I mean, I would be sunk if I drove up there and you took it all down. So that being said, and we won't even get into the new park or, the 27 cars that were up at the old park. It'll never go anywhere fit into the new park. I'm asking if you will have a conversation with me so I can keep my promise and give them fair warning, hopefully work something out with you guys, since, you want input and stuff. I'm inputting all over the podium here, okay? So I ask that you can keep me appraised or sit down and talk to me, okay?
I think no definite decision has been made, and we told you we would keep you in the loop. And I'm looking down at the dais here, and I think that commitment holds true. Before anything were to happen, we would have a discussion with you, because you have treated us with the respect of working along with our timeline, and depending on what happens, we will let you know first. Everybody agreed? Yeah,
Thank you so very much.
Was your thing about versions of truth or something?
Well, Maureen, you and I are in close communication, and what I know, and we'll always be very transparent with the public, and so there have been no decisions that have been.
Right. And you reminded me that I can't be up on the hill telling people that I can trust. But now I can, because you said you talked before.
But I guess how to put this delicately.
No, how about it?
The
Don't
fact
go
that we're
delicate.
going to talk about it does not mean we made a decision on it yet.
But you haven't made a decision to stone cold.
No. But I don't want it to be construed that the fact we're going to revisit this with you means that we're leaning one way or the other. Still up in the air.
And let me just say this, and I hear you.
Everybody agree?
up
Okay.
in the air. And
Up in the
I
air.
appreciate that you'll give me the heads up.
Okay.
The dog park, let me just say this, and I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens, too. I am over
It happens
50.
more and more.
Yes, all right. I won't get up again.
I
Try to
know,
make my-
wait a minute, I know
but-
that if it comes back to you, you will not be bashful, you will come back.
Okay, thanks for the permission, because I would...
All right, this was the introduction to the public forum, public comment portion of the program. Anyone has any comments on anything regarding the township or anything on the agenda tonight, now would be the time to come up. Yes, sir.
Ken Hempill, 39 Mill Race Place. I was curious, Amanda, speaking of emergency preparedness, what measures are in place to prevent ransomware from taking control of our township? That is like in the news every day.
So we hired an outside company to come in and redo all of our IT. And that company did an audit of all of our, what they called Swiss cheese holes in the plan. I'm not IT, so you're getting a lay version. So they came in, did that, tightened us up. We actually have a new server. We have all types of new things going on. Additionally, we have cyber insurance for in the event that it does happen. But we are monitored now 24/7 by an outside company that makes sure that our information is held intact, I guess is maybe how I say that. But
Everything's backed up off-site.
we are. No, yeah, we've done that. And we actually just had people go to a county meeting actually to talk about, because a lot of our emergency operations plans don't include things for cyber attacks because that's a relatively new type moment. I know when I was working in Chadds Ford, one day we came in the office and our township website had a Turkish flag on it. And we're like, Chadds Ford? You know, this tiny little place. And you know, it happens. And you get it figured out. And luckily we have really brilliant IT people who assist us in making sure all those things get correct.
Nate, I was curious, when can we expect work to start on the trail from Wegmans to the gristmill?
Yeah, so you're referring to what we call the Octorara Trail. We have design and construction funding in place, which is good news. But the construction funding is only for a portion of the trail. We're seeking additional construction funding for the second part of that first phase. Delaware County, last fall, we applied for money there, and they gave us a portion of that money. But we still need to find some additional money for construction. So right now, I'd be hesitant to say something as early as 2021, but realistically, that would be the earliest, but probably more of a 2022 project, to be honest. It's getting funded right now. We got over $1 million from PennDOT through what's called the TA Set-Aside Program, and that has just red tape left and right, archaeological, ecological, wetlands, you know, all for good reasons, but it takes a long time to go through. We've started that process. But again, until we know the construction funding for the entire thing, our hands are a little bit tied. So John Crossan and I met the other day, and we were actually having a little mini summit here probably in April with the various funding agencies. Again, DCNR, PennDOT, DVRPC, the county have all provided partial funding. And we just got to kind of close that last gap so we can kind of go through and push hard on this first phase. Right now, the first phase is what we're considering from 202, just south of Wegmans, along the old SEPTA rail line under the Pico lines, to Concord Road, right in front of Il Graneo. So that would be the entire first phase, about 2 miles. That would connect to technically the back door of the Newland Gristmill as well, with their permission. So it's a real nice chunk of the project if we can get that last chunk of funding squared away for construction.
What's the funding shortfall at this point?
Construction, so the construction funding we got, and I could speak at length on all this, but we split it into phase 1A and 1B. We have construction funding for 1A, which is 202 to Temple. We do not have enough construction funding for 1B, which is Temple to Concord Road. And the preference would be to construct the entire thing all at once, design it all at once, as opposed to doing everything twice. We may have to make a decision to just do one at a time, but we're trying to still make it happen to do both at the same time if we can.
I was curious, are there any discussions to put a traffic circle at Concord and Bridge?
Concord and Smithbridge, we have looked at that intersection over the years. It's very difficult from a right-of-way perspective because of the homes and properties right up against that intersection. I think that's more likely a turn lane scenario. We did apply for a grant last year, and we did not get that grant. Again, PennDOT's not looking to give you money to put in turn lanes. So I'm not sure where we're going to go with that. We're going to approach Delaware County about some planning opportunities to see if they can get that on some state funding lists in addition to some other projects, but right now we don't have that figured out, and that's not a cheap project. That's going to be over $1 million plus easy.
Last thing, that light at Powell Road and Route 1, it's still tripping when people turn right on the northbound 1.
I apologize because
It stops rush hour
Yeah, we
traffic
tweaked-
for
we-
like a car that's not even there.
Okay, I did tweak that a few weeks back, but I thought that was resolved, so we'll take a second look.
Tim Tucker, 86 Mendenhall Drive. My question is really about everybody knows that all the houses are assessed. What impact is that going to have on my taxes?
Good question.
Because my house was built in 1960. It went up substantially.
You didn't get it today?
Huh?
You didn't get the envelope today?
Yeah, I got it. I know what it is. It's not about the taxes. That'll be next year.
Correct. So ultimately, when this reassessment occurs, the township, the county, the school district can't collect more revenue in total than we have been collecting. And so what we're going to do is take the budget and divide the total new assessments into the budget to come up with a new lower millage rate. So your tax rate will be lower. Even though your assessment's going up, your tax rate will go down.
So you're going to sort of be reassessing pays what? People that currently have a higher assessment?
It's intended to be revenue neutral to all three taxing authorities, township, the county, and the school district. So to John's point, right now, we're multiplying everything by 0.9 mils to come up with a certain amount of taxes. But if that assessment number goes up, that 0.9 mils will have to go down, end up the same revenue at the end. So what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that the houses' values went up. So the total assessment right now is $1.7 billion. Might end up being $2.7 billion, which means our rates
that were built years ago.
Well, then that's why they have those meetings here. I know I got 7 of them in Chester that I'm meeting here on, and I just got my NIST batch in, and that's why we have to have the meetings with them. Some of my stuff is overpriced based on the values they gave me, and some of it isn't. Some of it I thought was quite fair. But
I believe the assessment they did on my property is fair, but it was quite a bit higher than it was assessed in 19.
Well, yeah, I think mine came in probably double what my assessment. But it's very close, to the market value. Yeah.
They doubled.
Just concerned about my tax.
No,
I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income.
Okay.
As I am, and mine doubled also, and I'm expecting a lower tax bill.
I think you're going to see the non-residential users are going to be the bulk of the appeals.
Second thing was for Nate. Right after I got the email about the meeting on the 10th, I happened to be on Facebook. Chester Creek Trail posted the meeting would be on also.
Yeah.
There's some part of the Chester.
Yeah, we've been meeting with them, kind of trying to keep them updated because the Chester Creek Trail is exactly what we're talking about for both Octorara and in the Garnet Valley Greenway.
One last thing for Amanda is
I was gonna add something.
your new website. Are you going to transfer the emails from the website, or am I going to have to?
We didn't actually have emails on the website through the Code Red. It actually gets set up in a different database. So we probably can't integrate. So we're still figuring everything out, but I may have to invite folks to sort of sign up again newly into that once we get it launched. But to notify me while the button's there, it's not active yet because we're still trying to figure all that out. Well, we have a part-timer who's like me, who we're all working on it, and then we're getting into it. So trying not to pay a lot of money to
I'm a
get it
retired
done.
IT person. If you need some help, let me know.
There you go. Jim, do not offer your services.
Got a couple hours a week.
You just might have done the wrong thing.
Looking for local
Yeah, right.
heroes.
That's it for me tonight.
I also just wanted to add on the millage assessment side of that, which John was talking about. I'm actually going to a meeting on Thursday at the county where we'll have some good information on that. So I'm not sure. I know John was trying to say sort of with the millage and how that's going to work out. We're not exactly sure how that's all going to work out until we see some of the numbers. So I just don't want anything to be overpromised, undercommitted. We're actually still working through all of that, and we'll put out as much information once we actually get a lot of the information ourselves, because the municipalities are still trying to figure out how all that's going to work.
Correct. We don't know if your taxes will go up or down specifically, so I don't want to misstate that.
But I will, they do have the option of having the informal hearing. And I think you have 10 days from the day you receive your number. And one of the places they're holding them. So if you do have any doubts, think you're overassessed, I guess the smart thing to
I don't think I'm over.
No, but I mean, if you do, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to meet with them and talk about it, because my understanding is after that, this informal hearing process, your only other recourse would be to file an assessment appeal. You probably have to hire an attorney, an appraiser, and all that. If you do have any suspicions that you think you're overpriced, not the worst thing. I called and I had to wait a month, but I do have an appointment. I'm in this building. Sit down and talk with you and hear what you have to say. So if anybody thinks they're skewed too high, too low, you're going to be very quiet. I would. But if you're skewed too high, you're going to go the other way.
Sewer in, I'd say I would.
Okay.
And also, if you do call, sometimes it'll say that they're busy, too busy to answer your phone. They'll call you back. Continue just to hit redial. And after, it took me about 5 times to get through, but they finally answered.
Anyone else? Yes. Name and address.
Rosemary Milby, Cambridge Drive, Downs. I understand we have voting machines coming into play this year. Are they, what can you tell me about them? Because I hear that it's going to take longer to vote and training that's required.
All I know is I think it's a paper ballot. Shed any light on this? Okay. But I don't know, is there any training going to be offered for that?
Yes. In fact, here at the Concord, here in this room, next Monday, March 9th, from 3 to 6 p.m., we'll have new voting machine demonstration. So please come here to this room next Monday, March 9th, from 3 to 6 p.m.
Copy on the website?
How, folks, I heard it. How are we doing with township?
We've put information out. We had it on the website, and actually, right now, there's a little pop-up box that says this meeting, but that is actually another thing that'll come up on that little pop-up box is that sort of meeting as well.
Put it out on
You
Facebook.
also can go to the ground floor of the county government center, have a video that keeps playing over and over, show you how to do everything. In the government center at the courthouse.
Oh, right.
Okay, anyone else? Mark?
Evening, Council. Mark Elser, 12 Ward Creek Drive. I'd like to talk to you about a bit about transparency, sustainability, financial fiduciary responsibility. But before I do that, I know you all should have received a letter I sent you yesterday, probably 5 pages long, and I wanted to know if you had any questions on that letter for me.
I don't.
Questions? Okay. Appreciate you taking some time to listen to me. But just so this audience is aware, and John, I appreciate the explanation that we're being good stewards with Concord Township and the 2013 sewer capacity rates. Okay. My understanding, as I stand here today, is that we're going to be entering into an agreement, a resolution this evening, for an intermunicipal agreement with Chadds Ford, as well as capacity purchase for reservation with Spring Hill Farms / Delcora, eventually the Aqua wastewater. Entering into, I assume it was a handshake agreement for those 2013 rates, because I've asked for some kind of evidence of what we entered into. For over a year and a half, I've been asking for the resolution or any intermunicipal agreements, and Amanda respectfully kept telling me, well, I can't release it until it's executed or signed by council. Okay, so without knowing the details of what that resolution composite proponents of. It wasn't until last Thursday or so that Amanda finally told me it was going to be in 2013 capacity rates, okay? As far back as October of 2018, this council approved the planning module for Chad's Ford, Concord Township Joint Planning Module. In that planning module, it indicated there was $0 to be paid as tapping fees. That raised the red flag for me immediately. I said, well, why would we offer capacity for our sewer plant that we've all worked very diligent and hard for to maintain, to construct, maintain, and more or less give away capacity to Chad's Ford. Understand Chad's Ford does discharge into a small stream that runs through Concord Township. Discharge, they had effluent problems over the years. As far back as 2001, they had a discharge. They were sued, and there was discussions and said, DEP would prefer this plant get removed from the discharging into the stream. It wasn't built to handle the sewage effluent that was coming from Glen Eagle Square commercial sewage effluent. I think some measures were put in place, some treatment at grease traps, things of that nature to reduce that problem. It has diminished. Don't seem to have prevalent discharge issues at this point in time. They've discharged about 52,000 gallons on average a day into the stream corridor. My understanding, we're going to be selling them 55,000 gallons per day capacity, reserving that, even though DEP approved the planning module in December for 73,000 gallons a day. Not sure if DEP is going to maintain and say that we have to reserve that in our plant only for Chad's Ford until the plant's re-rated or something has to give if we need that capacity elsewhere at 20,000 gallons or so. But in any event, selling them 55,000 gallons at 2013 prices, it's about it's exactly $851,190. Okay, what? The difference is $271,000. So essentially, this board is prepared, it appears to be prepared to make a decision to approve that resolution and that for capacity reservation, and more or less forfeit $271,000 that we will never see again from Chad's Ford, because they understand they're Spring Hill Farms.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
From the residents of
Stand
Spring Hill
corrected.
Farms.
I have a problem with when you start giving away that sum of money based on a handshake. If they had entered into any kind of an agreement back in 2013, even if it was for $1, to say we'll hold these reservations, these rates, I wouldn't have a problem with. But as far as I know, this issue was never openly discussed back in 2013 at any kind of council meeting to offer those rates. I met with Representative Chad's Ford Council and Spring Hill Farms, Chad's Ford Sewer Authority. He also is a resident at Spring Hill Farms. Mr. Moore, I met with him in May of 2017. He didn't say anything about reservation numbers being served for 2013 rates. So I just find it hard to believe that actually existed back in my opinion, back in 2013, that we were going to offer these rates to them, and that we're now giving away $270,000. Subsequent to all this, going on, Delcora enters into an agreement with Aqua Wastewater. As far as I can tell, Aqua Wastewater will become the owner of Spring Hill Farms. They will enter into and pay us user fees when they discharge through a pump station constructed. They'll enter into and pay us user fees.
Per the agreement.
Per the agreement that nobody has seen other than the council. And I understand they probably will be charging our property owners, Glen Eagle Square and Mackenzie's, directly fees.
Yes, sure.
Okay? It puts Aqua into the sewer treatment business in Concord Township. In other words, you know, they're becoming a
Well, they're going to be a successor to Delcora, so they're the successor to the agreement. So naturally, they would be. It could be any company that would buy Delcora.
right. If this agreement is executed,
Right.
and you know, I would.
But there's no other contractual obligation between this township and Aqua. Agreement is made between this township and Delcora or its successor. But the fact that some Concord Township property owners, sewers will be discharging into a plant that now is part of a private owner, Spring Hill Farms, and now will be part of Delcora. They're doing that now. So I guess those users, they're doing the same thing now, it's just they're going to be paying a different entity. So whether it's Aqua or Delcora or Spring Hill Farms, I don't see what that has to do with anything.
It doesn't, other than the fact that the rates are going to have to go up for all Spring Hill Farm users as well as.
That's between Spring Hill Farms and their operator. We're getting, we set our
Understood.
rates at eight, what was it, 8 something per thousand? And we have similar agreements with Thornbury Township that we've executed and Chester Heights Borough over the years. And the same method of coming to making those agreements come to a conclusion is the same method that was here, albeit this one took a hell of a lot longer than anybody thought it would. But the agreed number that we presented to those municipalities, our neighbors to the north and to the east, we held that number until we entered an agreement. Now, I think if I see Mr. Lohr here and I see Mr. Basel here, and back in 2013, I think the only surviving member of that Board of Supervisors is Mr. Gillespie. But we made that commitment to them in 2013. You can call it a handshake, email out there where we mentioned that's what we were going to charge them, and we stuck by that. So if we are guilty of keeping our word, then I'm guilty as charged. But that's what we did.
Quite honestly, Mark, as Mr. Pileggi indicated, I was at each of those meetings, and discussions were held, and we thought maybe within 30 or 60 days an agreement would be signed. But things happened, and it didn't. The agreement wasn't signed, and different parties got involved, and it was the intent back in 2013 to sign an agreement within 30 or 60 days. Never happened.
The other thing, had they been a commercial developer, Mr. Murphy points out in his letter to Township, Chad's Ford, they would have signed a capacity reservation agreement and would have paid us 10% of whatever they needed, and that would have locked the rate. The board at that time felt that that was an unfair burden to put on those residents. They're people like us. They live over there, they're trying to solve their sewer problem. But we have taken sewage from Thornbury. I don't know how many gallons we take from them. We have most, 500,000 gallons. But whatever it is, we take Chester Heights. And this, actually, when this was brought up to us, we had already said yes. After that, we were approached by Thornbury and Chester Heights again, and we had decided this was the last project we were going to take sewers from outside Concord Township. Another thing is when this originally started, the sewage was supposed to go down Marshall Road, Spring Valley Road, and tie into the interceptor in the vicinity of the old AME church. There were wetlands there, and the permitting was going to be too difficult to get done. So we decided that we had to find another way to get that done. Centenaro comes in, and we decided to take the interceptor through Smithbridge Estates. Part of this is the developer paying for a substantial portion of the sewer infrastructure for Smithbridge Estates, including all the lateral extensions for all those homeowners along that road, and no fee to the township, and no fee to those homeowners. So in us calculating the total cap-in cost for Smithbridge Estates, that brought the number down because a vast portion of it was being paid by a third party. I've always been an advocate, and I know I take a lot of heat over it, but sometimes development helps with infrastructure improvement, and sometimes it's for the better of our township. And this is one of those cases where, number one, we stuck to our word, did not think it was going to take that long, and number two, did get some more bang for our buck by getting infrastructure improvements. Rates that we're charging per gallon, I think, went up since 2013 by almost $2.50 per thousand. They are paying those rates in the agreement. Lastly, if the rates go up, they will have to pay that. And on top of that, if they need more EDUs, they would have to buy them from us at the then going rate if we have them available.
Okay. Question I didn't know the answer to.
All right.
What rate they might be locking into. But the sewer rate, the user rates will be what's in our resolution?
Yes.
2007,
From 13.
2000, number, resolution 7, 2000.
The
rate, user rates.
the gallons we're charging,
Yeah,
it's the current
8.5.
rate, and if, I think we set that, every year or so? Commercial bulk user rates. Goes up again, goes up to them. Now, what they're going to charge their residents, I don't think that's, or somebody would get involved with that. I don't know if they pass our number through, but I see Mr. Lohr, I appreciate him coming out tonight. Thought there might be some questions.
Well, just in general, I mean, again, they're going to be charging Spring Hill Farms additional fees. They're going to be charging our residents being.
Our commercial users.
Our commercial users, Glen Eagle Square and Mackenzie's.
And Mackenzie's, yeah. And it's the
Yeah.
Concord side and it's Glen Eagle. I think, are there any houses on Marshall Road in Chadds? Bob, is there anything other than your condos? How many units you have in there, by the way? I'm trying to remember. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I know Mackenzie's had some problems with pretreatment at one time, and
But can we have Bob go to a mic if he's going to speak, just because the audience at home cannot hear him? Thank you.
I would have proposed or would have suggested that we maintained the sewer users in Glen Eagle Square, but they did a wheeling fee or wheeling agreement with Spring Hill Farms, Delcora, and then pumped it to us. So we could check on those on a monthly basis and make sure they.
yeah, we could. I also think that my recollection is the ownership of that plant right now is some sort of board was set up, and I think the shopping center controls membership. Yeah, come on up. Thank you. Well, just sit there if you want, if you got any more questions, but we need the microphone. Someday we're going to get ones hanging from the ceiling.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members.
I'm Dominic.
All right. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for hanging in there with us, this whole matter. And what you said, Dominic, I was doing to supplement some of it, but you really characterized everything that's happened very well. When we did meet with you originally, that was our understanding. It happened $575 per EDU. We have we have 50 based on 55,000 gallons, and it comes out to the number that was given tonight, $851,000, correct.
Right.
We're held up because we originally wanted to go down Marshall Road and problems there. So none of us thought it would take this long. Here we are now, and to the point where Pet and Arrow has said they're going to start digging March 16th. So that part of the project will be very soon.
Well, no.
That's not accurate.
Well,
but
they're going to start in the near future. Also, to put everyone at ease, Pentanaro needs to get access to sewers for both of the properties he owns, the one at the old Chip and Putt and the one at Ridge Road. The plan was that the sewer would go under 202, a pump station on the 202 side, where the west side, and from there goes under 202 and ties into this force main that goes through the development. He is going to be stopping his construction at the back of the Chip and Putt and basically putting a big valve there. If and when he ever does get approved to build whatever he can build, he will tie into it then. Fortunately, they are well financed enough that to them this is just an investment. Cheaper for them to put now in conjunction with a partner than it would be to wait later and do I don't want to alarm anyone that the fact he's putting sewers in is that he's putting a shovel in the ground, to dig a footing anyway. Sewers, infrastructure in for if and when that happens, okay? Make sure we get that clear. I also think that March date might get bumped first. Okay.
I have nothing further. I can answer questions if anyone would like to.
You got Mark, you got anything else?
Transparency. I would rather create some kind of draft, I've asked draft agreements or resolutions.
Well, actually, this is the last one we're ever doing, so, no, and it's because we're going to, and we're approving tonight, construction for Penn's, to advertise the bids for Penn's Grant 1 and 2, but we're also getting ready to do a 537 plan revision for some other neighborhoods. And I think I mentioned in one of the letters that went out at the end of the year that there's about 1,500 homes in Concord that still do not have sewers, a lot of the older projects. Every year we're trying to bite off a couple hundred of them. But there could be someday where our plant's going to get pretty close to capacity. The request from both Chester Heights and Thornbury was minimal in nature. But we had made a decision after we started negotiation with Spring Hill Farm that we were not going to take any more outside sewage. At one time, we were approached by Chad's Ford to take not only this plant, but the Ridings plant. And we had to tell Chad's Ford no. And that's where it is. Now, I agree. And the other thing I think with this one, Mark, it took so damn long. Because when we do the ones with Thornbury, by the time they came in the door to the time we did an agreement, it was like 3 months. Everything was just ready to go. This one took so darn long. I'm happy to see it done. And I'm sure Walt is, and Terry, because there's a box of stuff, papers of this thing with millions of drafts. I want to thank Jerry Montella, solicitor RN. I want to thank Chad's Ford. I think also Belcora came to bat. A lot of technical expertise here. Tyler, you helped too, didn't you? Good. Okay, good. I'll make sure I give you a shout out. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
I don't agree with you, but
Look,
thank you for your
I got to tell you something. Mark, I want to tell you something. Got up here, we disagreed, and we did it amicably and friendly, and that's a pleasure to me. Josh, you have anything to say? I figure let's break from that tradition. Come on up here.
How many gallons per day is an EDU?
238, 237. That gets re-rated. Doesn't it? It was like 350 way back in the day, back in the old days. Yeah. Okay, it's 230. Go ahead. Come on. This is Walt Fassler. He's our
Fassler sewer engineer. That better. Reason they change is Concord. Doesn't vary much. Once, well, like Dom said, it was 350 gallons a day per home. Over the years, it's come down with. Back in 2005, it's something that's.
Josh, next.
Josh Tversky, Concord Township. Last month's meeting was fascinating. 22-year Council President Dominic Pileggi's declaration that he has owned the shopping center right next to the now approved 60,000 square foot retail shopping center on Ridge Road was not new news, but was news nonetheless. This new shopping center, the Shops at Ridge Road, is owned by Pettinero via the limited partnership Ridge Road Development. Remember these names. We'll be hearing a lot more of them in the future. Pileggi, in connection with the Shops at Ridge Road plan, declared at last month's meeting, quote, "I recused myself every time that plan came up," unquote, and quote, "I did not feel comfortable knowing anything about that plan," unquote. The problem with those declarations is that they are patently false. Let's go back to the February 6, 2007 council meeting. It was then called the Supervisors meeting, Board of Supervisors meeting. Per the minutes, Dom, you were very much at that meeting. No mention of you walking out of the room or otherwise recusing yourself. Per the minutes, Hugh Donahue was also in attendance as solicitor, and his name was also displayed at the top of the letterhead. Well, guess what? The minutes read, quote, Resolution number 15-2007. The Shops at Ridge Road Planning Module was unanimously adopted by the board on a motion by C. Marone, seconded by J. Gillespie. This resolution, acknowledging the board's review and support, is to be sent to the Department of Environmental Protection with the full planning module, unquote. And February 6, 2007. And interestingly enough, you actually signed the resolution. Which is an integral, one of the most integral parts of the plan. And there's more. How about the June 12th, 2007 council? Again, called the Supermind Advisors meeting. For the minutes, Dom, you were again in attendance. Again, no mention of you walking out of the room or otherwise recusing yourself. Our solicitor Hugh was there. Under other business, the minutes report, quote, on a motion by J. Gillespie, seconded by K. O'Donoghue. The board unanimously voted to adopt Resolution 31, 2007, approving the amended planning module for the Shops at Ridge Road. The amendment, he did. The amendment was required by DEP in order to satisfy concerns regarding the location of the sewage pump station, unquote. And let's visit the July 31st, 2007 council meeting. Dom was in attendance. He was here as solicitor.
I pride myself on my attendance. I try to
No
make
mention of Dom walking out of the room or otherwise recusing himself. The minutes state, quote, Mr. Curlin presented the Shops at Ridge Road plan and advised of comments made at the July Planning Commission meeting. The plan is now for 2 left turn lanes instead of 1 long one from Route 202 north. The board advised that this was not a township issue, but was governed by PennDOT, unquote. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I will see you next month. Corruption, cronyism, and conflicts of interest.
Josh, I just had a question. Since all of these noted, but I just wanted to note
No,
that...
let him go, let him go. Anybody else got anything else? Because we got a full agenda tonight. Come on up, let's go.
Chris Donnelly, 5 Ruby Road. Amanda, great job. Said you like quotes. I like quotes. Here's one from Charles Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens and 90% react. Dom, you and I haven't always seen eye to eye, but congrats on how you react. Because this nonsense, it's not going away, and it's a shame. That's it. I just didn't want him having the last word.
Wally Douglas, 139 Cambridge Drive. We were talking about the sewer systems and everything, and I know about 5 years ago, we're going to be, there were homes back off of Cambridge Drive, Bethel and Featherbed, and that fell through. And you were going to put sewers through then. I'm trying to find out why now are you wanting to come through with sewers? No one in the neighborhood seems to want.
We're on Cambridge?
Cambridge.
We're not getting that impression from what we're hearing from Cambridge. We have a lot of failures in there.
Yeah, our SEO helps us evaluate those measures.
But there again, our policy is, we bring them in, there's no mandatory connection.
Yeah, but it will be when we sell.
Exactly. We will be having a meeting, try to break the communities down into smaller groups. When we get further along, this is what we did with Penn's Grant. This is what we did up where Mr. Tucker lives. We'll explain it to you in more detail then, but by all means, please, you will be invited to that.
Our system's good for another 20 years. We're moving in 5 years. We're going to be spending $1,000 to put in to hook up. That's just.
Okay. Well, you'll have your opportunity when we do the Act 537 plan hearing. Please, make sure you get an invite.
Make sure you come.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to be having we're voting tonight to authorize the engineer to begin what's called an Act 537 planning review, which is something we have to prepare for the state. As part of that review, we have to invite those communities that are getting sewers in to have a private meeting with them. So when you come in that night, we've done it at least 8 or 9 times. Come on in. By all means, we will listen that night and we'll explain you our side of the story. We'll see what we can work out. I will say this. You want to tell what happened in the survey in Penn's grant?
I'm not sure we know the percentage as we sit here right now, but the percentages change when you have meetings with residents. For instance, Penn's grant, you know, the very first meeting, a lot of people didn't admit to having a problem. And after that, more people said they did have a problem. It's a matter of having total neighborhoods in a meeting and people not wanting their neighbor to know that they have a problem with their sewer. So it's to be determined.
Reappoint Denise Martin to the Park and Rec, term March 2025. Reappoint the following 2 members to the Zoning Hearing Board, Fred Gless, Chip Price, both terms to expire March of 2024. We have a motion to make all those reappointments.
So move.
We have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Next is Resolution 25 of 2020, which is the intermunicipal service agreement. Farms, Township, topic of discussion earlier, and I thank everyone for their comments, and thank Mr. Elzer for keeping it very calm and professional, and although we do disagree, was what was happening. Okay, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 25 of 2020? So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 26 of 2020 is the partner reservation to this. Spring Hill Farms Del Cora, the capacity reservation agreement. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution? Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
Mr. Crossing, you're going to do number 27 for us.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We're going to he's pulling that up on the screen. We discussed this last month's meeting. This is the Carilla open space acquisition at the corner of Naaman's Creek and Pile Road. And you can see there outlined in yellow is the 1.8 acres that we are approving the subdivision of that we will be purchasing. That land is then, as you can see, adjacent to open space in the North Chase development. So this resolution is to approve the final minor subdivision plan based off the following conditions. Signed, sealed surveyor certificate of placement of monuments and pins must be filed with the township prior to recording of the signed plans. Plans are to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. Subdivision is subject to all conditions outlined in the agreement of sale, attached as Exhibit A, and all deeds for the property's legal descriptions and applicable agreements, if any, are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and the township solicitor. The Council of Concord Township hereby approves the final minor subdivision plan, subject to the aforementioned conditions and the grant of the following waiver with regard to requiring of 160-39.C3, requiring additional right-of-way along Naaman's Creek Road, State Road 10491, and Powell Road, State Route 0342. Correct. So we're expanding our open space here, and after we approve this subdivision, we will be closing on this property on Friday. Mr. President, I do move.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number
And
28.
before we move off of that, I did want to just highlight for a moment, read a brief email that we did receive from a resident. This Carilla property was the subject of a lot of residents' concern with regard to the proposed 4 townhomes, additional single-family home, given its zoning as PRD, which does allow for more dense development. We heard from a lot of the residents there. They reached out to us, and So we received this email recently from Kelly Francani, who is a resident of North Chase and backs up to this property. And she said, Mr. Crossan, I recently received the wonderful news that Concord Township heard my concerns, along with so many neighbors, and will be purchasing the property behind my house with the intent to preserve it. I was new to this process, but learned so much and feel rewarded in not only the outcome, but also that we have elected officials who truly take the time to hear each voice and think in terms of the common good. I commend you and the board with this creative solution, and I look forward to keeping up with additional land preservation opportunities. Please feel free to share my message of support and gratitude with your fellow council members. Sincerely, Kelly Francani. Mr. President, I submit that.
Property here in Hampton, Concord Township, filing of the necessary declaration of all necessary action. Connect property owners in Grant, 4 Road, 2 Concord Meeting Road, and 74 Concord Meeting Road. Open space directly behind their property. Past, there are other homes that are adjacent to these, tied into the store. Approach made them an offer of condemnation. We are still in the process of negotiating with the HOA. Authorizing in order to try to waiting for negotiating tactics. So, Mr. Gillespie, you're familiar with this one?
Yes, very familiar. We've been trying for a little bit over a year to come to agreement with the Concord Woods HOA, and it just hasn't happened. So it's necessary for a declaration of taking, and along those lines, I'll make the motion that we approve resolution number 28 of 2020.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, John, you want to handle 8, 9, 10, 11?
Sure.
I'll tell you what, let me do 13. Motion to accept this complete filing application. One application, 136 and 150 Road, Fred Teroni, minor subdivision application. Onesie, twosie? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept that? Do we have a second?
Second motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. John,
Aye.
John, bring us home.
All right, number 8, the bid award for the AME Church. This is another long-term project where we attempted to relocate that church, but the bids come in way too high. So we decided to do the work in the existing site. So we reapportioned the grant from the county, and that was approved. Our architect went out for bids, did receive 3 bids, and I would recommend that we award contract to LJ Paolella, the amount of $212,689. Separately, or?
Second, please.
Seconded.
Have a grant from County Community Development Block, the range of about $300,000. In fact, find any. We have some Valley Road. It's a frame building there alongside the road. John said we hope to pick it up and although realize that back so we back motion is second. All those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Aye.
Paolo has done all the work at the brick
Okay, yeah. Number 9, the authorization to advertise bids for Penn's Grant 1 and 2 sewer project. Our sewer engineer has been working feverishly on this for the last number of months, and I would like to make a motion to advertise for receipt of bids for Penn's Grant 1 and 2 sewer project.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
Second motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We also have another authorization for the sewer engineer to begin Act 537 revision planning for the planned sewer capital projects, Concord Road North, Smithbridge, Conchester area, and Cambridge Down neighborhood. That's in the form of a motion.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
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 And we will send out notices when we get further along. Okay, and we're doing each of these neighborhoods separately. Okay?
All right, next item. Certificate of payment number 1 to Lenai for LED traffic signal replacement. This is for Lenai Electric out of Westchester, PA. And this is certificate for payment and change order number 1 in the amount of $76,556.70. So that's in the form of a motion.
We have a second.
Second motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr.
All right.
Crossan, you had a couple things to say, and then you'll make the motion to adjourn, please?
No, we got more.
Got one more?
Whoa. Time out.
John, you're slowing down.
I'm out. Going off too fast there. We also have a financial security release for Concord Realty, which is a Subaru dealer. The amount of $1,115,979.63. That's in the form of a motion.
Second motion.
Come on.
Okay, motion is second. Do we have, all those in favor, please signify by
Aye.
Aye. All right, 13.
Crossan.
Hit 13. All right.
Good.
All right, so just under other council members, I just wanted to highlight and speak to a few things. First of all, I spoke with Blaine Phillips from the Conservation Fund today, and he confirmed that the National Park Service came out and did a site visit of the 250 acres along Beaver Valley Road and has approved the condition of the buildings, which includes the barn renovation and the historic house restoration project as well, which was undertaken this past year in order to help that land go into the national park. So now that the national park has signed off on that, then it's going through the accession process to go into the park, which is a process that is going through Washington. So I let him know that we would be available to support that in any way if needed. Second thing that I'd like to highlight is that we recently had the death of a resident in Concord Township, Mr. George Zeckman, and he was a longtime resident of Concord. He lived over on Beaver Valley Road. He was probably for 70 years he lived there, and Mr. Zeckman died in his home. And he, as far as we know, he didn't have any heirs, and so our township, the neighbors were notified the township, and our emergency personnel went over along with our public works teams. And I wanted to thank them for their care in securing the home, as well as in taking care of Mr. Zeckman's body, as well as Mr. Zeckman was a Vietnam vet, and so James Callahan is seeing that he receives honors in burial, and I believe he also graduated from Garnet Valley High School. So I really wanted to highlight this for three reasons. Number one, to remember Mr. Zeckman, who might not otherwise be remembered. Number two, to thank our personnel and our staff here who do work that goes beyond what you might realize every day. And number three, to remember to check in on the seniors in our community, because we have many seniors who don't necessarily have someone checking in on them. The last thing that I wanted to highlight was that the CRC, the Crum Ridley Creek,
Chester Ridley.
Chester Gridley Crum Creek. I forget which ones are in there. Yeah, they're doing their annual stream cleanup, and Concord Township sponsors this event. And one of the sites for the creek cleanup is at along Concord Road, at the back entrance of the Newland Grist Mill, where Il Ganeo restaurant is. And so this is held annually, and volunteers can register to sign up online. That is being held Saturday morning, April 4th. And if you go to the website crcwatersheds.org, then you can sign up to be a volunteer at that site, and I do encourage that. Two other things, meetings that we have coming up on March 10th, next Tuesday at 6:30, we have an ordinance hearing for our property maintenance code. We are updating our property maintenance code. And secondly, immediately following that at 7:15, we have an open house for the Garnet Valley Greenway Trail Study, which Nate spoke to earlier.
And I add in also, we are also, as a result of the last meeting that we had with the hearing for the conditional use for Astoria,
Yes.
we will also be considering, as part of a special meeting notification that was advertised for the land development and the conditional use decision, are being considered that evening for a vote.
That's all I have under other council matters.
Thank you for your comment about checking in on the elderly. I live on a street with a lot of original, in fact, I think I sent it to everyone that in the Daily Times, they always have 100 years ago and 50 years ago. 50 years ago yesterday, there was a meeting at Concord Township Board of Supervisors, Concord Firehouse, decide how they were going to react to the recent Supreme Court ruling breaking their 3 and 5 acre zoning. So if you look back and what was going on back then, that's one of the things. I think that development was down, decided to challenge the 3 acre zoning, and Dave Clark Clayton Park Drive. We have a lot of people that moved in some of those 3 and 5 acre lots. I know some of them are still on my street that divided lots off of there. And, you know, you see them put the trash can out. If you don't see something like that, maybe check on them. It's the right thing, kind thing to do. And thank John for bringing our attention. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming out.